Paul, intelligence agencies challenged on gas attacks. What's going on here, man?
Right, so let's go back a little bit when we were talking about Syria all the time. Actually, this dovetails nicely with the Tulsi Gabbard story we just did. Tulsi has been vocally, that's now shredded. Yeah. Tulsi Gabbard has been vocally against regime change wars and has been smeared in a lot of various places for being an Assad apologist, or as Barry Weiss put it, a toady, if she ever figures out what that word means. But one of the things that she was skeptical of was these chemical weapons attacks that keep getting, we keep saying, oh, Assad bombed his own people. And in the official report, this is from the Organization for the Prohibition of Chemical Weapons, the official report originally said, yes, these two canisters in the Duma attack appeared to be dropped from a plane. And you saw lots of images of these canisters that carried chemical weapons on the ground saying, yep, that was Assad, and he flew these planes and he dropped these bombs. Well, the OPCW had some leaked documents that contradicted its original findings, and the alleged chemical weapons attack last year in Duma regarding that attack. So in a prepared statement, the OPCW essentially said that it confirms the authenticity of the leaked document that contradicts their official statement. So OPCW analysis on the gas cylinders allegedly dropped from the Syrian government aircraft on the Duma attack and concludes that the dimensions, characteristics, and appearance of the cylinders and the surrounding scene of the incidents were inconsistent with what one would have expected in the case that either cylinder being delivered from an aircraft. So what that means is, according to the assessment signed by an OPCW trained experts, the cylinders alleged to have been dispensed poison gas, which killed dozens of people in Duma, did not arrive at their locations that they were alleged to have arrived at via aircraft dropped by the Syrian government, but via manual placement by people on the ground, where photographs were then later taken and circulated around the world as evidence against the Syrian government, which was then later used to justify airstrikes carried out by the United States, the UK, and France. So the UPCW establishes facts surrounding the allegations in the use of toxic chemicals for hostile purposes in the Syrian Arab Republic through fact-finding missions, which were set up in 2014. The OPCW Technical Secretariat reaffirms that the FFM complies with established methodologies and practices to ensure the integrity of its findings. And they take into account all relevant, reliable information and analysis within the scope of this mandate to determine its findings. So at this time, there's no further public information on the matter, but this should be a major news headline everywhere. So companies like Bellingcat, who are sort of war promoters that are constantly telling people that, oh, we have to go to war, we have to take down this dictator, conveniently don't mention this or don't want to talk about it. But this is now in the public record, and there has been nary a peep from MSNBC, CNN, anyone in the mainstream press that, hey, this thing that was monumentally important 2 years ago, that we had to go remove Assad from this government because he was dropping chemical weapons on his own people. By the way, we kind of made that up about the him dropping thing.
What about our big, beautiful missiles that we're going to launch?
Yeah, but it had to be him. If it was him dropping it, we had justification. But now that we show that they were placed there manually on the ground, that it wasn't.
That also implicates Saudi Arabia, who has been known to give these kind of weapons to the rebels in Syria.
And it's odd that they get these kind of weapons from us.
Yeah. And not to mention now that Saudi Arabia has a fully functioning nuclear power plant. Right?
Good job.
All right, there we go. Awesome. Awesome. Inside joke, guys.
For now. But I think that the other thing about this is that this goes to show what manufactured consent is, especially with war. Don't trust anything you read, because we know time after time government lies a lot to get into war. We lied to get into the Spanish-American War. Over half the wars the U.S. has been involved with have been the U.S. making up some justification to go somewhere in Iraq. In the Korean War, it was, they torpedoed us, even though they didn't actually torpedo us. Or was that
almost every single war in the last
Vietnam.
150 years has been on false pretenses?
Yeah.
Almost every single one. Like the exception of like World War I and II.
Yeah. You can literally bet money based on historical precedent on whether or not a war we're going in was done under false pretenses, and you will always have, if you don't know any information about it, the safe money is we lied.
If you still believe that Assad gassed his own people, I always point this out too. Wait a minute, you're saying he's winning his stated war, right? His war against the jihadists that are occupying his territories. He's fighting that war and winning it. He's invited UN inspectors to come in and show that he's not using chemical weapons against his own people. He's winning that war, and on the day those inspectors arrive, he decides to gas his own people. What kind of three-dimensional chess is this guy playing that makes sense in any world, right? If we're gonna continue to say, we're gonna smear people and say they're doing this thing, they're doing this thing, they're doing this thing, that's only beating the drums for war over and over and over again. And we've been doing it repeatedly.
This person that's able to cement power and maintain control of a country during a civil war, well, he's an idiot and obviously did the thing that would get the U.S. involved at the worst possible time. There's no other explanation.
If you believe that Assad gassed his own people, I have a bridge over the Gulf of Tonkin I'm willing to sell you.
Oh, dude.
I have a space elevator to go with it. We'll package them together.
Yeah, exactly. And again, this is why we have to really call into question. Not only buying it down, but really call into those in power who make these decisions, because how we impact the world is really how the world looks at the American voter. And do we want the American citizens, whether you're Democrat or Republican or independent, do we want to be viewed by the rest of the international community as people who are just complacent and turn a blind eye when our government basically decides to invade a sovereign country? Already there's talk of a coup happening in Venezuela. There's talk about sending 120,000 American men and women in uniform to Iran. We're still in Iraq and Afghanistan. We caused so much destabilization in Libya to where now there's slavery being done in that said country. We constantly got involved in Syria, and now there's this talk of a Cold War between us and Russia and China, all because of this ridiculous Russiagate conspiracy. It seems like the corporate media just wants it to be war, and the neoliberal and neocons in the Republican and Democratic establishment, who, mind you, take money from the military-industrial complex, want there to be war. So at the end of the day, they're all friends with each other, and this is where we as citizens need to step up, and why we have to get involved during this presidential election cycle, and why all of us in the different states need to understand our state laws and make sure there's paper ballots, voter accountability, and open polling stations, and ensure that the election fraud that happened during the Democratic primary doesn't happen again, because we need strong progressives like Bernie Sanders, like Senator Bernie Sanders, and like Representative Tulsi Gabbard, who are for anti-war and actually, helping rebuild America's image to our international neighbors. Because if we go through with a coup in Venezuela and in Iran, we will be dealing with the aftermath for generations to come. Daniel.
Yeah, I was just going to say, I was just thinking about the cost of all of this, and it's like, what is one laser-guided bomb? Like what? Like $3 million, give or take?
Something crazy.
Or a Tomahawk missiles that
what
much?
about public school and our infrastructure and college education and
it's just so crazy, though, because it's like you could either improve the productivity and the lives of a few dozen citizens for the cost of one guided missile. I mean, hell, imagine what we could do with $3 million.
Oh my God, we could do a lot. If we had $3 million, we'd have a full functioning studio and so much more.
Or we could make a device that is a weapon of war that destroys part of a runway that gets rebuilt in a day.
I don't know. I like the hypothetical theory we get $3 million to make a good student. I don't know.
Think about how much pizza we could buy.
Pizza, tacos, hamburgers.
I mean, it's crazy though. It's I always go back to that thing. It's like when you're in the Middle East, you see a soldier who's a private who makes $18,000 a year, sees a guy who makes $20 a month, so he picks up a single-use $25,000 personal rocket launcher, shoots the guy, misses, and then picks up another and then hits him. That's the economy that we're working with, where soldier doesn't get paid a lot. The weapon he's shooting one time is more expensive. I mean,
the company that manufactured that weapon
they make a lot of money. They get the money.
They get the money. Yeah. Yes. Oh my God. It's a crisis, but this is why we have to get involved. And so at the end of the day, everyone, we have to step up to build a better future. Hey, did you like that video? Hit the subscribe button, hit that thumbs up icon, and also hit that ring bell notification so that way you guys know when we have more content up on the Hardlens Media YouTube channel. But Paul, what else can people do to help us out?
Keep watching.